Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is part 5 of the lecture for the topic defamation. So we are going to focus on defenses. For an action for defamation, there are quite a number of defenses available for the defendant, okay, to argue, to defend his case. So we have here justification, fair comment, privilege, okay, absolute and qualified privilege, and then apology and license. So we're going to discuss one by one together with the relevant provision as well as cases wherever relevant. Okay, here we'll see the relevance of malice, okay, because in some cases, okay, the defamation was committed, was said with malice. Malice is bad motive, bad intention, okay. For defense of justification, okay, if it is done with malice, it is still a good defense, meaning that here justification is a very strong defense, okay. But for fair comment, because of the word fair here, okay, if it is done with malice, then the defense will fail. It's no longer fair, okay, if it is done with malice. For absolute privilege, okay, because the word absolute here is so strong, so even though it is done with malice, it is still a good defense. But for qualified privilege, which is only applicable to certain limited situation, so if it is done with malice, then the defense will fail. So this is all the relevance of malice, okay, as far as the defenses are concerned. Okay, we are going to discuss one by one. For justification, it is a strong defense, it's a full defense. Meaning that here, whatever things which is being said, defamatory words which is being published, it is justified. Okay, the defense is used when the words are true. Meaning that the defendant is able to prove to the court whatever that he said is true. Whatever defamatory things we said actually is true, is justified in that sense. Okay, and then plaintiff in that situation will have no protection. But who has the burden to prove? So BOP is burden of proof. So burden of proof is on the defendant to prove his allegation. Okay, whatever he alleged, okay, so it is true, right? So it is justified. It's a full defense. It is actually provided under Section 8 of Defamation Act. Okay, let's cross-refer to Defamation Act here. Okay, Section 8. Okay, justification. An action for libel or slander, okay, respect of words. A defense of justification shall not fail, okay, by reason only that the truth of every charge is not proved. If the words not proved to be true, do not materially injure the plaintiff's reputation, having regard to the truth of the remaining charges. So even though partly is true, still, okay, it's a strong defense. It is accepted by the court. Okay, we go back to our slides. Okay, we have the case of Abdurrahman Talib and Sinibal Zagam, 1965, as well as Mardan Mahathir and Star Papyrus, we discussed earlier on. For Abdurrahman Talib and Sinibal Zagam, defendant alleged that plaintiff, a government minister, had received monies and favors to his personal advantage through his influence as minister. So it's abuse of power, that's the allegation. And then defendant could prove the truth of the receipt of favors, but he could not do so in relation to the favors of money. So he can prove whatever he said with regards to the favors here. And the court accepted the defense. Okay, the defense succeeded. So it's true. Okay, to some extent it's true. So justification is a very strong defense, and it can actually absolve the defendant from the liability. What's the meaning of fair comment here? So because usually the words, defamatory words, okay, it consists of facts and comment. So on the part of comment here, it means expression of opinion, not necessarily the facts, okay, whatever you think about it, okay. And then in order to make use of this defense, okay, the comment must be based on true facts in existence. You are commenting on the fact which is true. And then fair here, okay, the comment must be, so it requires, it has to be honest comment. So an honest comment expressing, an honest man expressing his opinion on the subject matter of public interest, cannot be personal, okay. Or your comment here, honest, based on true facts, and then it affects public interest. It is concerning public interest. But what the gist or the essence is that honesty is the cardinal facts. So what's the objective in order to say or to ascertain that this is an honest comment? The test is subjective, and then the court will actually ask, okay, could any fair-minded man honestly express that opinion of the proof fact? So whether this is something which is honestly expressed, okay, in the right in the mind of any other man, okay, fair-minded man. Okay, let's cross refer to section 9. Okay, section 9 it talk about fair comment here. Okay, you can read actually here. All right. Shall not by reason, approve. Okay, have a okay. That's basically the requirement. Okay. All right. Come back to the slide. Okay. So relevant is section 9 for fair comment. So to succeed in defense of fair comment here, defendant must prove 4 things. Okay, words must be in the form of comment, and then it must be based on true facts, and it's not there's no element of malicious, okay, no malice, and then it concerns public interest. There are 4 requirements here. Okay, comment on based on true facts, and then no malice, and then it's about public interest. We have the case of Ratus Mesra and Sunan Berhad and Sheikh Osman, judgment by Kamalanadhan Ratnam C. And then what's the meaning of the word matter of public interest? Okay, your comment, okay, I mean the defendant comment is about a matter of public interest. So it means, okay, whenever a matter is such as to affect people at large, nothing personal. It's not personal interest, okay? So that they may be legitimately interested in what is going on or what may happen to them or to others, then it is a matter of public interest on which everyone is entitled to make fair comment. For example, okay, the common example, behavior of public figures, okay, public officials or an institution or even some private organization, public servant especially, because why? Public servants they are paid from taxpayers' money, so they owe high legal obligation towards public at large. Okay. It also includes matters submitted for public criticism. Okay, meaning that here those who write a book, okay, is open for public to criticize, because why? The book is open is meant for public to read, or even public exhibition, theoretical performance, okay, newspaper. Remember, so long it doesn't contain malice. Okay. So we move to the third difference, which is privilege. So privilege, it has 2 sub categories. It's either qualified privilege or absolute privilege. So we are going to discuss it by reference to common law and statute. So privilege here, basically we allow the defense which is of which freedom of communication or speech. It is justified without fear or of action or defamation. So that's the privilege given. Okay, certain specialty or certain release given for you to say, to communicate this word, to speech, to do that speech. So for qualified privilege, okay, statements made between parties who have mutual interest over the subject matter of communication, qualified, limited to certain situation, and statement made to fulfill a legal, moral, or social duty. But for absolute privilege, very specific, very clear, words can be uttered without apprehension of lawsuit, okay, no fear whatsoever. For example, in parliamentary debates or judicial proceeding, because let's say parliamentary members are scared, okay, to be I mean they could be a party to a legal action later, so they cannot really have a debate, okay, and even in judicial proceedings. So lawyers, okay, or even judges cannot be sued, okay, for whatever they said during the proceeding. Otherwise, how to do the proceeding? Okay, absolute privilege at common. This is the rule at common law. Okay, it refers to harmful words that are uttered by the defendant about plaintiff reputation. Okay, usually they are not actionable. Okay, so publication of these words are protected by absolute privilege. But on certain occasion, okay, this is actually on absolute. The word absolute. Okay, this protection is necessary to cater for efficiency. That's why it is given to only certain people, certain situation. Absolute. Words can be uttered without apprehension of lawsuit, like in parliamentary debates or judicial proceeding. And we have the case here, Times Publishing and Sivadas. The court held that absolute privilege for proceedings in Parliament covers written opinion by the public made as a response to the issues that are publicly made known. So it is still covered under absolute privilege, even if the statements are malicious, because it's a very strong defense. Okay, absolute. And then absolute privilege is meant for forums in which there can be no fear or favor, because if the public are fearful to express their opinion, so how to do it? I mean, there's no feedback, constructive or useful feedback, okay, if they are fearful of being sued later. Okay. And then for statutory provision, we have section 11, okay, which covers report of judicial proceeding. Okay, the case of Wong Chan Mew and Hong Leong Finance Berhad, the court held that notice of substitute service of originating summons is a report of judicial proceeding. It is still connected to judicial proceeding, so it is covered under absolute privilege. For qualified privilege, okay, only available to certain limited situation. It protects the maker of defamatory statement on an occasion of privilege if it acted honestly without malice. Again, malice will actually prevail, okay, over this qualified privilege. So it has to be applied without malice. So who has the proof to, I mean, who has the burden to prove? So burden of proof on the defendant to prove that the word said on occasion of privilege. And if there is any malice on defendant's part, the defense will not be accepted by the court. Example of qualified privilege, okay, statements made between parties who have mutual interest over the subject matter of communication between them alone. Okay, for example, teacher and student. Okay, teacher and parents. Teacher commenting to parents about child being naughty. So parents cannot actually sue the teacher for making such defamatory comment towards the child or towards the student, the pupil. And this is actually qualified, this is protected under qualified privilege. And remember, teacher cannot have malice in making the comment. We have the case here, Surjit Kaur and Belinda Goy. Both of them actually were cabin crew of Mars, and this is a appeal case. So appellant was cabin crew of Mars, Malaysian Airlines, and she sued the respondent for libel. Because what? Respondent had written a letter on behalf of other crew members. Okay, so the letter was written to Vice President and Executive Vice President of Mars, so seeking appellant's removal. Because why? They did not approve of her supervision. So appellant is superior, supervisor, their supervisor. Because why? Fear, okay, badmouth them and backstab lah because of the fear, okay, and also badmouth, okay. All right, and then respondent rely on defense of qualified privilege when she wrote the letter. So the court held that the appeal by appellant was dismissed, meaning that here, yes, the court agreed with the privilege, the qualified privilege. And then the court said one of the essentials to be established for such a plea was that there must be common interest, okay, in the matter between the person issuing and the person receiving communication. So the person who wrote the letter has the interest, and also the person receiving the letter, the vice president. Okay, all right. So basically, all those things will affect Mars lah here. All right. Matter which might affect Mars, or which the unhappiness or grievance of the cabin crew must surely be one. So the letter was, the defamatory letter was actually protected under qualified privilege. And then another situation, statement made to fulfill legal or moral or social duty. This is not mutual interest. Now it's about legal, moral or social duty. So the suit is between Datuk Seri Anwar bin Ibrahim and Datuk Seri Dr. Mahathir bin Mohamad. Okay, way back in 1999. I think when Tun Mahathir was the Prime Minister and Datuk Seri Anwar was the Deputy Prime Minister. So Datuk Seri Anwar was dismissed, plaintiff was dismissed from his political position. So he claimed that defendant had spoken maliciously and published to the national and international journalists, accusing him of homosexuality. And then defendant relied on two defenses, justification and qualified privilege. And then the court held that yes, defendant was duty bound to have disclosed the information concerning his act deputy And then, as the chief executive of the government, he was the prime minister. The defendant was under a legal, moral, and social duty to inform the nation of the matters concerning the plaintiff. So he was protected by the defense of justification and also qualified privilege. And for statutory provisions, we have section 12. Okay, you can read later. It's quite lengthy. You can read. Okay, and section 13. All right, section 12. It talk about newspaper. Okay, whenever newspaper publish anything, it will be protected. Okay, but there's certain requirements here. You can read, and then. Alright, so if matters are stated in part 2 already published and plaintiff asks for the newspaper to publish an explanation of contradiction. So if it does not publish, then defense of qualified privilege will not available to him. Okay. And then the last defense is apology. It is under section 10. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, section 10. Okay, here, okay. Apology in mitigation of damages. So the word mitigation is here. I mean that here it's not really a full defense. Okay, it can mitigate, it can reduce the amount of damages or the sentence. Okay, but then it doesn't release. Okay, it doesn't absolve the whole liability. Okay, let's go back to our slides. Okay, it's not a full defense, it's only a mitigation. And then in order to be effective, okay, apology has to be made before commencement of the action or soon afterwards. Okay, for example, he doesn't have time, he did not have chance to make the apology earlier. And then it has to be sincere apology. So this defense was discussed in the case of Normala Samsudin. We discussed the case actually earlier on. So you can refer to the previous parts of our lecture. We discussed the case. Okay, the last one is license. Okay, license is permission. So still on the same case, in the same case, Normala Samsudin, the defendant alleged in his defense, okay, Mingguan Wanita, okay, the publisher, alleged that plaintiff had given him permission to publish the words, okay, because the interview was done through telephone, but the plaintiff actually denied lah those things. Okay, if she has given permission, so why she wants to take action, isn't it, for defamation? The last part is limitation, okay, because this is civil action, so it has to be filed, okay, before within 6 years, okay, before expiry of 6 years under section 6 of limitation in 1953. In the case of Wong Cham-Mew and Hong Leong, 1998, there were 2 dates involved, okay, and then the court has to determine which date was effective, because if let's say the second date was effective, then the case has actually exceeded 6 years. So the court came to the conclusion that, okay, the cause of action started, okay, when the action was filed, right from very beginning in April and not later, okay, not when the date of substituted service. Okay, this is the definition of the word substituted service, where the court document, the court document or notices cannot be served in person. They may be published in newspaper or sent by mail to be considered served. Right, so the suit was filed initially, yeah, and later only substituted service in newspaper because cannot actually serve the document. And the last slide here, remedies. Okay, I think this is similar to other tortious action. So remedy is damages, compensation, as well as injunction to stop from the defamatory action. Okay, to stop from printing or whatsoever. All right, so with that, so there are altogether 5 parts of the lecture. Make sure you have viewed, okay, all the 5 parts. So thanks a lot for listening. Let me stop share. Okay, so hopefully you are able to follow and digest and understand the lectures. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.